Hi, today we're going to be talking about how to make a leader board that's interactive, compelling for your students, and hopefully, motivate your students, increases engagement, and all those things that we want to have in our classrooms and in our schools. Today I'm going to be using a example that a colleague and I created for our district, but you could use this on a very small scale to a very large scale. So whether you want to use it in your classroom, whether you want to use it in multiple classrooms, or you want to even use it for, across grades, you could do any of that for free with a few simple steps. So today we're going to be talking about, as an example, our Williamsfield Growth Campaign, which we use out at our school. We created this last summer. A colleague and I did, Katie Murphy, whom you're meeting at the conference. And we took a gamified approach to our school engagement. We're a K through 12 school. I know not all of you are in that same boat, but we were trying to continue to engage our remote learners, our hybrid learners, those who are at home a little bit more than they're used to being, just helping them stay involved and keeping them motivated from home. As you know, our presentation today is all about our students' learner site. So I got permission from Kennedy, who also created a video that you can watch so you can meet Kennedy for yourself. And just to show you how this leaderboard kind of looks, we have on every single student's learner site their growth campaign section, which has an Animal Crossing theme. And so all of their rewards, their badges, and that they get for earning these house points, which is our teams are based on our Billtown 9, which are our houses of virtue. Kennedy, you can see, is in the house of honesty. And there are 8 more houses that you could be on that designate your team. And then down here, you can see that Kennedy has earned some badges for challenges that she's completed. The whole concept here is that we wanted to provide interventions for our students that didn't feel like interventions, or that didn't feel like something extra. Students needed help with time management, being at home on their own. We wanted to provide challenges and opportunities for them to work on that skill without it feeling so much like a burden, but instead so it would feel a little bit more like a game. And I've actually provided links to how we set this game up on the site that we prepared for you today that looks like this. So if you scroll down, there are all the links to documents how we did this. So if you wanted to do something like this in your classroom or for your school, there's kind of a model for you. You're welcome to use any bit of it that you think is helpful. But today we're going to just focus on the basics, the technological basics, and how do we create this interactive leaderboard that basically, once you get it up and going, is going to keep itself going. And that's what we're looking for, things that can keep themselves going, that we don't have to continually be working on once we put in the legwork. So today, I'm just going to use our Billtown campaign as an example, but I also created just kind of a simpler example, just a simple book challenge that you could make in your classroom. So I created this form. If you don't know how to create a form, it's super easy. You're just going to go to wherever you can access your Google, homepage. You'll find your Google Apps, and listed under your Google Apps, you should find form. And to be honest with you, they do have a template gallery and you can check out lots of cool forms, but I just always go with the blank form. So you just click that and create it, and it would actually make this form for you. And then that's there for you to customize. Sorry if you can hear my babies in the background. I've got them today, so things might get a little gnarly, but they're playing and having a good time, so that's okay. So I've created this form for us. It's pretty simple. I've just made it a book challenge. Now I left the form description blank because the truth is this will depend on your grade level. If you're working with other teachers, maybe you're going to make this a middle school challenge, a high school challenge. When I was in school, we always did book it, and you could earn the things for the pizza, and that was amazing. So maybe this is kind of your school's version of something like that. Now, if you've already got a great reading incentive, of course, you don't have to do a challenge like this. You could focus on a skill, finding evidence or using evidence to support your writing. It could be really specific stuff that you would like your students to do. And it could be really specific, or it could be really, really broad. So we're just going to focus and use this today as just an example. I put in Anne Shirley and Gilbert Blythe as my students. Um, the most important thing as you're filling out this form and the way that you create questions is you just use this little plus sign. So it's super easy. And then they give you everything you could possibly need on the right here to, customize these questions. And if you decide you don't need that there, then you just hit the little trash can. So it's super easy to use, super interactive. If you wanted to change the theme up here, you just use the little color palette. You could, I've uploaded an image, but you could change that. You could upload a different image. It's whatever you want to do to just customize your form. And what typically the couple of things that you will need for a leaderboard for sure are their names and the team that they're on. So I put those very first. So if you list your students here, as you can see, there's going to be options for how they can answer the question. I always find that using the drop-down menu when you're we're going to tie this to a Google Sheet to actually create the leaderboard, is the best because it's accurate. So if you're having them type their own name, you're going to set yourself up for this not to work down the road, because if they miss a letter or mix up a few letters, it's not going to show on their leaderboard. So using that drop down function where you pre-do their names, you pre-do their teams, is always, I think, for the best. Now, this is the only two categories that we really need for our leaderboard to work, is their team and their name, as well as how many points they have earned. So those three components, I recommend drop-down menus that they're just selecting. But maybe you want more information from them. If this is a book challenge, maybe you want them to have to provide a more detailed answer. So you can include anything on your form that's going to help you, get information that you need from them. But just know, for the leaderboard to work, we just need their name, their team name, and their points, and you want to use the drop down functions for those three things. Otherwise, you can help them. You can ask them to talk about the book. You can ask them specific questions about themes or characters, whatever you want to do for your challenge, and to make sure that they have actually read the book. What's also great about creating this Google form is that you're not actually filling in this data; they're filling in the data. So if you can do it one of two ways. You can do it yourself and make a super simple form just with the points and their team name that you're just using in the background for the leaderboard, or you can take the work off yourself completely. You can hit the send button, send this form to your students, or embed it in a website that you all use, and bada bing, bada boom, they're actually completing and submitting their own data for the leaderboard, and you really don't have to lift a finger at that point. Now, in order for this to work, we do have to link it to a Google Sheet. So you're just going to go ahead and click responses. You're going to click that little sheet right there, and it's going to actually prompt you to link to an existing sheet or a new sheet, but I have already linked it to an existing sheet that we've already created. So what it's going to do is go ahead and it's going to pop over here, and it's going to list all these columns based on the questions that you asked. So these look familiar. At the top here, these are the questions that we asked, right? So super simple. So just to review the form, we want to make sure that we're creating a form that's engaging and simple for our students to use, using the drop-down function where we list their name. We're making sure we're getting them on a team, that they know their team and they can identify their team using that drop-down function, as well as the points that they've earned. And you can really create that criteria. If you want multiple options for points depending on what they do, that's up to you. You develop that criteria, but just make sure, again, that you're using that drop-down function for points, their team name, and their name. You can ask them any other kinds of questions where they give you more lengthy answers if you want, Or you can keep it super simple if you're planning on using this form yourself so it goes very quickly. After you've created the form, you want to make sure you hit responses, you hit the little Google Sheet icon, and that you create a sheet that is compatible with this. It will go ahead, it will list all of your questions in the columns at the top. And that is part one of this video on how we're going to create a leaderboard. So if you want to go ahead, try that out, get your form created, get it linked to your Google Sheet. You can check out the second video, creating a leaderboard, part two, to understand how to set up this Google Sheet to create your leaderboard. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me on megan.robbins@buildtown.org.